Welcome back to the Learning House. I'm Corey, and today I'm meeting with Scott Burns from Home Science Tools. Scott, thanks for joining me again here for our 30th anniversary celebrations, and you guys are celebrating your 30th anniversary at Home Science Tools. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Tell me a little bit about Home Science Tools and what it is that you offer to our families.
Yeah, so Home Science Tools has been around for over 30 years. Frank and Debbie Shaner created the company when Frank and Debbie were homeschooling. Their children didn't have great hands-on science experiences, and Frank, who's an engineer by trade, decided, we're going to make that an emphasis. We're going to do something different. And so they started Home Science Tools to make sure that all students have incredible hands-on science experiences. We work with a bunch of different curriculum companies out there, creating their hands-on kits to make that learning come to life. We have over 3,500 different items, from microscopes to dissections to curriculum kits, that help make that learning fun. I don't know about you, but I always say, what if science was your favorite class? Well, that's what we do. We make science fun. We bring that hands-on element, so the learning is sticky. So you not only have the foundational element, but you have that fun and engaging, exciting experience that makes the learning more sticky, more that mental Velcro, I guess you could call it, right? But also, it's the things I remember the most when I was
I love that. I love that idea of sticky learning.
Sticky learning.
Neat. That's gonna stick with me now too. I'll be my word picture when I think of Home Science.
Feel free, it's yours.
So, tell me, Scott, what makes you personally passionate about these resources? Why are you excited about science?
So I've always been a science nerd at heart. I'm going to date myself a little bit here, Corey. Trivial Pursuit, that's the first little pie that I like to go get and answer the questions for. But growing up, I just remembered the best times of learning were when I got to be hands-on, whether that was the dissection or as that was making a volcano. Now you have slime and oobleck and all these different ways to make that learning fun. But one thing that I just truly understand is that the 21st century world that we live in, the new careers, the new jobs are all STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics driven, right? And when you have that foundational element of these really incredible curriculums, but now you're given the opportunity to make that learning fun and engaging, we can't forget about it. Learning should be fun. We should be tapping into our students' curiosity, because if you have those curious kiddos, you're going to have their interest. And if you have their interest, you're going to have their learning. And so I just I've always loved science. I always, have been someone who's been passionate about it. And I'm excited to be a part of the Home Science Tools family and the organization that Debbie and Frank have created.
Neat. And you and I chatted a little earlier about how as homeschooling families, and we serve, like you, we serve homeschooling families, private schools, some public schools, co-ops, and all different places on this spectrum of learning. But as homeschooling families, we know that our families have chosen to do that individual education plan for each of their children, that we love doing something that fits our family best. But one of the things that we miss out on often by jumping off of the public school or private school stream is the access to labs and all of those things. So this is something that really makes that hands-on science much more accessible for our families, which I really appreciate.
Absolutely. And, I've gone around and done conferences for the last couple of years, and I talk to families all the time, and they find science is a little challenging or intimidating. It's not as intimidating as you think. Having the right tools in front of you, having hands-on kits, having the resources makes science so much more fun, engaging, and also brings that learning to a totally new place. And don't think that you're missing out. You can always do the science. You can always do the learning, whether it's at home, outside, indoors, outdoors, at a facility, outside the facility, whether you're a hobbyist, a family member, a grandparent, getting them really incredible hands-on science experiences is just a click away, right? You can go right to the Learning House website and find some amazing science resources. And we were so proud to partner with you to get some of those resources to your families.
Yeah, and it makes such a difference for our families to know that they're available in Canada. You and I have chatted just the challenges of getting resources across the border for us as Canadians, and more so when it's things like chemicals and dissection kits. It's not going to cross the border as simply as other things. And even then, we do a lot to really mitigate those cross border costs for our families that often will call us up and say, I really like this resource and I ordered it directly from the publisher thinking I was going to save some bucks. And then the brokerage fees and the duties and the extra taxes and things like that that they didn't expect, we can really mitigate that for them and make sure that what you have is available to our families at a reasonable price. So,
well, and that's the other thing too, is when you talk about the reasonable price, sometimes you're ordering materials. You don't need a pound of whatever that might be, or you don't need all this extra stuff. We package it up in a very consumable, family-friendly space where that you'll have enough to do the experiment a couple of times, but you don't need to go source all this to get the best price possible. We're doing all that work for you. So we're taking a lot of the prep, a lot of the work out of it. And so when it shows up for you guys to your families, it's ready to go. It's easy to use. And we keep that cost as a very important aspect of, dollars are tight. And how do we make it so we stretch that budget so you can still have the science experience without pricing you out of having a really fun, engaging science opportunity?
And that's something that's really really important to us, to me as a mom with our family, growing my kids up. And we're into our 22nd year of homeschooling now. That dates me. When these kids were younger and I was home full time and we're a ministry family and we had a very tight budget, but I wanted my kids to have a very full experience. I didn't have access to resources like this, and knowing when I had to, we would try and pull together the resources for an experiment. And if I needed a tin plate, I was going to the store and buying 10 tin plates. And if I needed some iodine, then I'm like, what am I ever going to do with this bottle of iodine now? Or those kinds of things. And it wasn't economical. So sometimes we'd have to skip it, or sometimes we'd be buying extra stuff and pricing it out now as a retailer, as a mom who's trying to serve other moms. I know that what we've got in these boxes can save people money so that they don't have all the extra pieces that they wouldn't need otherwise.
That's a great point, Corey. Our product development team, our homeschooling parents, former educators, we look at all the different criteria and business cases when building out a curriculum support box for a curriculum, right? When Frank and Debbie were starting, we saw that there was all these awesome curriculums out there, right? But they were telling the parents to go buy this, go get this, go there,
go
here.
Sending the moms and the dads on these chases. Yeah.
So we sit down with those curriculum writers and we say, okay, what are the necessary tools that they need? What are the hard to find and source science items? Do they need this or can they use this, right? How do we help make this so much more accessible and not challenge the families to do hands-on science, but make it accessible for them, to anybody to open it up? And so when we're designing those boxes, if you get a curriculum kit for Berean Builder or Apologia or LifePack or whatever it might be that you have, right? We sit there and we're like, okay, what are the necessary tools that you need? How do we package them in a way that is affordable, still making sure that you can do this experiment once, twice, or maybe even a third time? And then what are the items that are household that we don't need to put another scissors in a box and charge you an additional $5 to get you something. What are those items that you might already be able to go and get a paper plate, get some tin foil, and be able to put that in there? And we really look at that and say, okay, this is an affordable kit that makes this curriculum just this much more incredible, makes it that learning just that much more simpler for you to be able to access it. And that's, at the end of the day, the most important part about it is, how do we make the learning fun, but still make it so it's accessible for the that wallet, and not overprice and over make it challenging for the families to make a decision on what do they do at the end of the day.
I remember having a chat with you and Janie a while back, who does curriculum, who does the development of these packages, and how she said she was going through a particular experiment and it called for a frying pan. Do you remember that, Chad?
Yes.
And she said, we're not putting a frying pan in that. They all have frying pans. And then she got further into this. And and the experiment destroyed the frying pan. So she said, we're going to find a way to get a cheap frying pan
Yeah,
so that
and
moms and
that's
dads don't have to destroy their frying pan. And in that case, they got a really simple little frying pan so that moms and dads don't have to destroy their own frying pans. I thought that was really fun. And she sounds like she has a ton of fun with her job.
That's the best part of her job, is actually
Yeah.
taking apart, opening up the curriculum, getting to perform the experiments, what works, what doesn't, how do you ideate, how do you plan for what a parent might go through as a parent herself and a homeschooling individual. How do we make this so it makes the best sense? Because at the end of the day, if it doesn't make sense, let's not do it. Or you know what? Oh, we don't want to destroy a whole bunch of people's property. Let's put something in there that make it worthwhile. And so there's a fine line. There's a dance of it, because you want to make sure you're true to the curriculum and the writer, but you also want to make sure what's sensible at the end of the day.
And I do appreciate that. And our parents know that we do have some competing kits that have a different goal, right? And that for the moms and dads that want a kit that has every bit of piece in there, that's got the scissors, that's got the extra stuff, then there's other kits to buy. But in this case, we're working on making sure that you have all that you need so that science becomes something that we do and not something that we read about and have intentions to do, but that it makes it so accessible and still affordable. So I really appreciate that.
We focus on putting quality in every single kit. So if we can take some items out that we don't necessarily need to have, then we can drop the price of the kit and bring a higher quality item in there to replace it, like our glassware or something else that might sit on your shelves and you could use for 20 years. Our microscopes or our glassware, we have great shelf life on a lot of those items, and we'll replace them if they ever get broke or damaged. We stand by our materials that we put in every single kit, and that's why we make a really conscious decision of what do we put in there, why do we put it in, and when can we take something else out in order to make sure that we are still delivering an incredible learning opportunity and experience for those students.
Yeah. And speaking about things that get broken, we've had times when, some creative delivery person has drop kicked a box and families receive stuff in all kinds of bits and pieces. It does not happen often. These things are well wrapped. And we do a lot to try and make sure that they're well wrapped. But when it happens, our families call us up. We mitigate that problem for them. We talk to you guys. We make sure that people get the pieces that they need. That's always
the nature. It's the nature of shipping.
Yeah,
things might break, but you shouldn't have to worry about that.
But there's real people and a real family behind this company that stands behind their products. So I really appreciate that. Tell me, what age range are we looking at? Am I getting stuff for my little people, or are you just dealing with high school level science stuff? Is this something I wait until I'm ready to do dissections and blow stuff up in high school, or what?
Well, don't ever wait.
Those shouldn't be done together. Dissections are for biology, blowing stuff up is for chemistry. Two different things.
Kindergarten through high school, and we even have some college kits that we built out for our college, for our university students.
Wow.
I want parents to be able to focus on the students' outcomes, right? At the end of the day, we build kits kindergarten through grades 12. So all they have to do is basically, if they're looking at biology, we have your biology. If you're looking for chemistry, we've got the fizz foam and the fires, the things that, go and do that. We have your life sciences. If you need your dissections, we've got your dissections, right? And when you talk about things that move, we have your physics kits that allow those students to be able to do it. We make sure that on all the stuff that we do, that we give a range of learning. So whether you're kindergarten through grades 3 or 3 through 5 or 6 through 8 or even high school, that we have materials there that are accessible for all learners and any place that they want to learn, whether it's in the school, out of the school, in the backyard. We have those resources for them.
And you have curriculum kits that match up with many of the curriculums we carry.
Yes.
Not every curriculum, we don't have them available for all of them, but we do have for BJU, Berean Builders, Life Pack, Apologia. But you've got some other stuff that we're able to share as well.
Exactly. And we even have some of our own HST kits that you've been purchasing as well. We're going to be giving one away. We have our Science Foundation series, where if you don't want a curriculum, if you don't love a textbook, by, we have our own Science Foundation series, our complete
Mhm.
intro to chemistry, where you can open up the box and you've got everything you need, including or it's actually 40 pages, 27 activities worth of chemistry that they can learn.
Mhm.
And then you've buying some of our other incredible kits as well, like our crime scene investigation and our dissections.
Mhm.
So we've
Yeah.
got curriculum kits across the board.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have blood typing kits, I believe, from you.
Yep.
We've got um, owl pellets. Like our families love owl pellets.
If you
Homeschooling
haven't
families
done
love owl pellets, and we've got
if you
owl
haven't
pellets.
done an owl pellet dissection yet, you're
Have
crazy. You
you,
got to be
have you
doing an owl pellet. We
lived?
we did one at a conference, and I don't want to give it away, but just open up an owl pellet, and you will have at least an hour's worth of learning
Mhm.
inside what an owl pellet really truly is. But at the end of the day, right?
And
It's
it's so
accessible.
economical. It's just one of those little kits that our families love because it's an easy add-on.
And it's a great entry point to doing a dissection, right? It's not like you're
Mhm.
cutting, a
Mhm.
specimen open. You're cutting open an owl pellet. So
Mhm.
do yourself a favor, get an owl pellet.
Yeah, yeah. And that is, these kind of kits that are not aligned to a particular curriculum are so accessible for families to do with a group of kids or to do with varying ages. I know that a lot of these have a grade level attached to them, but we can use them with the grade 3 to 5 students, but have the little ones tag along and the older ones help out and so on.
And I love that. Why not have your students help facilitate the learning and the education, right? If you have the older kids doing an experiment, let the younger ones come along for the ride. There's
Mhm.
no there's nothing wrong with letting those little ones see what's going on, get inspired, get
Mhm.
curious, want to do it
Mhm.
themselves, right? And so that's the great part about doing that. And at the end of the day, science should be shared with all, and we should be
Mhm.
easy to do. And so I love that whole aspect. And it's fun to supplement, right? You might have a
Mhm.
curriculum, you might want to do something else with it, because if
Yeah.
your kiddos really excited about a topic, why would you just stop and move to the next topic? Let's do
Yeah.
more. Let's go deeper into it, because
Mhm.
if that curiosity goes there, then maybe they could potentially be that biologist or that engineer or whatever it might end up being.
Neat. Neat. Absolutely. That is one of the joys of homeschooling too, that we get to dive deeper or go wider at our own discretion because we don't have to follow a linear grid. So very good. Um, uh, I think I've asked a lot of my nitty gritty questions, but what are any other big hopes that you would say that if I was adding my home science tools kit onto my curriculum or getting one of these independent curriculums, what is it that you're hoping that families most get out of using your resources?
Well, first and foremost, home science tools, we believe in faith, family, wonder, and growth, right? Family is our core source of being, right? It's
Mhm.
everything we live for. Faith, whatever journey you're on, we appreciate it, and you should be able to enjoy that. And we really believe that growth is the opportunity to not only grow within our organization, but grow and have a growth mindset, and to be able to expand your horizons. And when you think about wonder is that curiosity. So when you're
Mhm.
getting into the topic, we hope that we're opening up that world to a young learner, that we can hopefully make them the better part of our community that we live in, and be the next whatever it might want to be. And when you have those opportunities to go deeper into the learning, and you can go deeper into the textbook with a hands-on learning kit, we just want to make sure that learning is fun. And we have to remember, learning
Mhm.
should be fun, Corey. If we're
Mhm.
not having
Mhm.
fun, why are we doing it? And there's so
Exactly.
many great opportunities for us to be able to do it, whether it's reading a book, doing our math, and doing science. But we really believe that hands-on experience is what really brings joy to the science.
Mhm. And one of the things that, as you're saying this, that I'm reminded of is many of the talks that I've had with various authors and publishers in the last little bit. We keep coming back to critical thinking skills. When we think about science and faith and growth and wonder, it's all about asking questions, asking why, getting deeper, thinking about like being discerning. And science is so much that. The scientific method is, I see an outcome. What's the evidence that led to that outcome, and what conclusions do I make? And just continually having that mindset towards asking questions, seeking answers, always going deeper, always being open and encouraging that exploratory nature of education. So having our ability to have hands-on, and knowing that me as a mom, I really resonate with so many of the moms that have called us that have, we've made an intentional choice to stay home with our children. And that's a choice that affects our ability to bring in income and buy all the fancy things. And I've done that for a lot of years. We have to be so intentional and careful about our budget, and knowing that we can get into a kit like this to make sure that science is very accessible to our children without breaking the budget and having to throw out other good and important things. So balancing those things.
You can't do the scientific method without experimenting, without ideating, right? And I think you and I talked about this, right? Edison never said that he failed 1,000 times in making the light bulb. He just said, I just found 1,000 ways you don't make a light bulb, right? And
Yep.
he always talked about failing forward. And, if you think about that, it's just the first attempt in learning. When you have these hands-on science experiments, they don't always go right the first time. That's why you do them again and again, and you figure out different ways. Or with the scientific method is you figure out what worked. How can we make it better? How can we change it? How can we make something better for the world that we live in and solve these great problems that are out there? And if we don't experiment, we don't tinker, we're never going to do that. And I just love the fact that, we give that ability for our young students to build a growth mindset, to really try to think about the why and the how, and then the what. And when you put those all together, you really do have a well-rounded student that can be that next 21st century job, whether it's engineer or software or coding or a nurse or a doctor. I mean, all
or
those things
something that hasn't been invented.
Exactly.
Right? We are dealing so much now with preparing students for careers that have not even been invented yet. And so getting those students to be able to seek learning, to seek answers, to be inquisitive, to have that problem solving ability, so transferable from our sciences to things like social issues when we're teenagers, like, how do I get along with my peers? How do I deal with this social situation? Problem solving skills, so important. Like, there's so much that's so very transferable about doing this hands-on learning, critical thinking, asking big questions, dealing with faith and science together, all those kinds of things. So important. I love it.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, I'm a hands-on learner. I was a tinkerer. I was somebody who really loved
You were the kid that pulled apart the radio, weren't you?
I was the neighborhood.
What did your mom find in pieces when you were a kid?
I was the neighborhood kid that tinkered with everything. And at the end of the day, every learner is different, right? We're not all wired the same way. Every learner is different. But the one thing is true. When you give somebody the tools to have the content be more accessible, when they get hands-on, that learning is sticky. That learning comes deeper. And there's just something that goes into having a different passion for what they're doing. And it's memorable. I remember all the experiments and all the different things. I know everybody remembers dissecting frogs. If you haven't dissected a frog, you will either love it and remember it, or you'll love it and hate it. But you remember it, right?
Yes.
And so it's just that little aspect of making sure that we remember, no matter where your student is, wherever they are, when you give them something hands-on, it's going to make that depth of knowledge more impactful at the end of the day.
Well, thank you, Scott. Do you have any last tip or thought or idea for me as we wrap this up? I really appreciate you sharing your passion and the practical aspects of how we use these resources.
At the end of the day, I would say this to any family that's out there when you're talking about your sciences. It's not as intimidating as you think it is. And when you're looking at the books and when you're looking at curriculum, do yourself, your due diligence. Take a look at the author. Take a look at what their background, their philosophy is. Read some excerpts of some of their chapters to know if the tone or the tenor or how they are resonating. You'll know what works for your learner better than other people. And then make sure you look at what do they have digital aspects that go along with it? Are there things that I need to buy? Is there a hands-on list of materials? When you're looking at selecting the curriculum that's right for you, at the end of the day, just make sure you look at all those different aspects to make sure it resonates and that it does fit your style, right? And once you find the right thing that for you, sky's the limit for where your learning can go.
Very good. And that's something that we here at the Learning House really try to help families to walk through. We do a lot of Q&As, we do consultations, we have a customer service team that is very much real people talking to you, whether you email us or phone us. Most of our customer service team is people who are experiential educators, home schooling parents or homeschooling mom graduates, homeschooled students who have graduated. So they know the path and they know some of the questions to ask like that. Do you need something that's got a digital aspect? Do you need an audiobook because you have a kid that learns better by hearing? Are you the kind of family that likes to have a teacher guide where you can teach your students and guide them? Or are you a family that likes to read a book together side by side and learn this together from student materials? So we can help you to walk through those kinds of things and find the hands-on aspects that fit your family best, whether it's a small kit that supplements what you're doing or something that you can open and get all of the resources that you need for each experiment in a particular curriculum. So
that's one of the most exciting things about our partnership with you. I loved your consultative approach with your families because you're not just there to sell them a kit or a curriculum or a resource. You really want to find the right tool because your families are your family. They come back to you for years. That's why you and I have been around for 30 years and you continue to have this amazing love affair up there with your customers. They really trust your expertise and reliable delivery and everything else that you give them. And we love being a partner with you, Corey. And I can't say thank you enough for letting us be a part of your celebration.
That's great. Well, it's been a treat. It's been a lot of back and forth for you and I, a lot of chats, but what a great way to get to know the heart of your company is and to share that with our audience as well. And like you said, our families are like an extension of our own families. Here at the Learning House, our staff is a great integrated team, and we just love caring for the families because we're homeschoolers ourselves. We understand where you come from. We know that it's about doing education well, and the curriculum and the resources are tools to use along the way, but the real heart of it is where your family is at and meeting the needs of your family, whether that's with books or courses or going to outings and joining the clubs and doing all that kind of stuff. We just want to be a resource along the way. So great to partner with you. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to adding more stuff as they come available from Home Science Tools.